Welcome to the Deepak Saini Show.
He said he gon' huff and puff and blow my mind up. You meet the island girl, she might dirty wine up.
Welcome back to the Deepak Saini Show. I want to thank J23 for the intro music. You can find a link to her music in the show description. My guest today is Leslie Urbas. Leslie is a registered dietitian and personal trainer with over 15 years experience. She works with mostly women, helping them discover their digestion code and end the guilt and shame struggle. Leslie, welcome to the Deepak Saini Show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks for having me on your show as well. I appreciate that. So, Leslie, I always like to start with how did you get doing, what you're doing, and how come you're so passionate about it? What led you to become a registered dietitian?
I would love to be I just had this passion for health. But that really, I always joke that in sixth grade, there was this moment with a donut, and my friend Eric was like, oh, I brought donuts today to school. And I was like, I'm not going to eat a donut. You know how many calories are in that? But that's really not the truth. It's just the beginning story that I tell people as a little joke, because I remember that so vividly in my head. But when I started high school is really when I think nutrition came into the forefront for me. I played high school softball, and the first week I started school in high school, the first week I started high school, my softball coach actually told me I was too fat to play softball, even though I was a normal, healthy weight. And less than 5 days later, a girl in my class who we hung out with, we sat next to each other in most classes due to alphabetical order, and she also told me that I was too fat to hang out with on the weekends. I was a normal, healthy body weight, like BMI and all. Yeah. And that started me down the journey of okay, I'm not good. So I went into the bathroom. I remember at school after she told me that, and I just kind of looked at myself and I was like, oh my gosh, they're right. I'm hideous and I don't look pretty. And I am big. I'm not small. I'm not whatever. And yeah, I started dieting right after that. And that's really what started me down this road. And I became a dietitian solely because when I hadn't figured it out and I left high school 25 pounds heavier than when I started due to all these diets that I shouldn't have been on, I was like, I might as well go be a dietitian. That'll be the way that I can figure out how to do this, right? And that's what started it all.
Crazy. Our stories are similar but different, and I shared it a bit when I was on your show. I was always just chubby, way earlier than that. But in high school, particularly, I kind of misguidedly thought bulking up to play football was the right thing to do. So in 4 years, I gained 100 pounds in 4 years, and there was some muscle, but it was also I just got big and even fatter. Went from chubby to fat, to then being obese, morbidly obese. But that's crazy. That's crazy. You would think for playing softball, you have to be kind of athletic. In your own words, looking back, did you think you were athletic and not big, or
No, I would love to say that, but no. My high school softball coach was a twig, super skinny, absolutely super skinny. And she liked something called the slap bunt, which is where no matter who you were, you had to be you would bat left-handed even though you weren't, and you would start a run and slap bunt it, but you're so fast you're almost already on first base by the time the person gets the ball. I wasn't fast. I had none of these things going for me, so she just automatically wanted them. Yes, I knew I was athletic. I came from an athletic family, but the majority of the time growing up, you were praised when you lost a lot of weight or you got really skinny or you had this thing happen. So it was never well, you just have an athletic body. That wasn't something that was brought up to me. It was always that something had to be fixed. Skinny was definitely what I thought I was supposed to be instead of just healthy or athletic, for sure.
Got it. So I mentioned it in your intro, in your bio. What is the digestion code?
Yeah, so the digestion code I really kind of crafted from my years of experience of chronic dieting, right? So it started out truthfully as more of, I've termed it different things. I used to call it the food emotion code, just wasn't right. Digestion code is really it, because it's how you're digesting everything in a period of time, right? How you digest food, how you digest a diet, how you digest the workout, how you digest all of the things coming at you through health, more of that piece, even things that you're being told from other people. And the digestion code is really 4 pieces. The first piece is like a Myers-Briggs kind of thing. It's like based on who you are as a person, and it can give you a lot of the deep inner workings of yourself. A lot of there is some human design in there. Okay.
Okay.
The piece number 2 is through your ancestry code. Your ancestry code talks to you about like how you were raised with food, the things that were going on with you and your family and all of that. The third piece really has to do with you and your dieting and your code with you and your diet. And the fourth piece is putting them all together and then actually revealing who you truly are and what you're truly supposed to be living and how you're truly supposed to be eating. Because we all have an internal code that's actually really easy to follow, right? It's not an uphill battle. It's not, oh, I love this food, but I can't eat it. There's no stress with it. It's actually really peaceful when you know your body, but we're not taught to know our bodies. We're taught to know the doctor knows, the diet knows, the teacher knows when I should eat and drink and all of those things. So we become so outside of our body, we don't actually understand. And the digestion code gets you back to those basics.
Yeah. Quick question. You said part number 3 was, what diet you should have. Now, I want to just clarify. I think what you mean is what nutrition is right for you, not necessarily what diet, because people have this connotation of diet means you have to follow some plan or some. So I just want to clarify. Do you actually mean like a diet or like actually nutrition?
I always use diet in terms of what it actually means, which is everything you eat in a day.
Okay.
People associate the word diet with diet, right? But a diet is really just everything you eat in a day. But yes, agreed. It's not you're going to get some sort of plan or anything. It's something else.
Okay, awesome. And I love how you bring in, some of the personality type of work, human design stuff, and then the ancestral type of things. Because, and I know you didn't mention this, but, it's kind of top of mind. It's a bit of stuff that I do. And actually, I was in a workshop, at the time of recording through previous days, I was doing some personal development on myself. And this came up in context, not for myself personally, but just in the course about how, trauma in our genealogy can impact us in many different ways, and part of that could be in how in our weight or other health issues. So sounds like that's also part of that. Am I understanding?
Yeah, that's the piece in the ancestry part, right? Yeah. It's how you were raised with it and the things that you're carrying that potentially just aren't yours, right? And then that other diet piece is then the things that you chose, like, oh, I chose to grab keto and I chose to grab all these different diets. So now I have these food rules, right? So the food rule actually becomes a part of now your genealogy that you're presenting to yourself and to your children without even really knowing it, because you still have the food rule in the head. Like, we don't eat before 10 a.m. or we don't eat meat or we don't eat corn or we don't eat whatever, right? So as we have those food rules, they become part of us now. So that's what kind of part 2 and part 3 are about. The things that you were provided and then the things that you accepted your own because you thought that, keto or South Beach or whatever was the right way for you to go. We then accept that as our quote unquote plan.
That's funny they said South Beach. I haven't heard that term in a long time. Well, I think that's sort of died away, but maybe it hasn't. I don't know. Maybe in South Beach, that's still a thing. I don't know.
Exactly.
I'm going to make the assumption, you tell me if I'm wrong, everyone's going to be different, for sure. If there was one of those 4 pieces, I guess the 4th piece is bringing it all together. If those first 3 pieces, what do you find with your clients that tends to be the most important piece, if you can generalize?
I would probably say it goes between 1 or 2, because it depends on how deep the wound was from your parents. Like, I had one person that her dad used to come out every morning and at breakfast and say his weight and would ask what their weights were. And if it was up, they got punished because their weight was up. So that would go over anything else, because that's going to take a piece of that. So I think the parenthood piece is huge, because we don't really realize, we don't realize that teaching our child that, candy is bad or sugar is bad really sets them up to gain the freshman 15 and to be like, okay, I'm finally away from mom. I'm going to stuff my face so much with this candy. And unless they have a reaction like, you drank too much tequila and now you absolutely hate it, they're just going to continue to do it. It's going to perpetuate the cycle. So that piece and or the beginning piece that brings in a little bit of the human design, because people love to learn things like, everybody loves it. Like, oh, I'm a Libra or I'm a Scorpio or I'm whatever, right? They love that piece that ties it in. So they love to know like their innate process of of what they were provided with as a person as well.
Awesome. I mean, I don't know, Leslie, do you tend to, let me ask a better question. Do women tend to come to you more than men? And the reason I ask this is I find, and it's a bit of a generalization, folks, I understand. Okay, don't send me hate mail. Bit of a generalization, but it seems from my experience that women tend to be more attuned or open to, about, genealogy and, using tools like human design or et cetera, et cetera. You mentioned Myers-Briggs, that tends to have like almost a corporate kind of connotation. Most people are aware of it from the corporate world. But do women tend to be drawn to you more than men?
Yes, but I think that's also because my content goes more towards women. I'd probably say 90 to 10. I have 90% women and 10% men. And sometimes it really just depends on who the man that comes. And I think a lot of times they have a more feminine approach, or they had a lot of the jilting from their father, right? Their father wanted them to be a certain way, or their father wanted them to, be this sports player, and they never did wind up being able to go through with that. That's what I think is when they typically are the ones that come. Or sometimes military, because they love how I was prior military. So it like gets them, oh, she's prior military. Like it gives me like an up there. So those are the two kinds of men that are typically drawn.
Okay. I don't recall. Maybe I've just forgotten, but let's pull on that thread. Like, what's your experience with the military?
So I was a registered dietitian when I was in the military. That was my first job
Gotcha.
Post being in my internship. Was I got an email that was like, would you like to be a dietitian in the Navy? And I was like, yes, I would. Sure, let's just see what happens. And I did. I was a active duty Navy for 3 years as a dietitian, and then I was a reservist for 5. And I worked as a civilian in the Naval Hospital for about 4 or 5 years. I don't remember exactly how many. I think it was 5 by the time I left before I started my own business.
How would you find, I'd be curious to know the difference between, let's call it the Navy population versus maybe the general population, as far as the type of issues from, that your skill set as a registered dietitian would be handling?
The same, exactly the same. It just depended. There are some guys in the military who are super fit and love to be super fit. And there are guys that would come and they'd sit down in my office and be like, I'm here because the doctor told me I had to be here. I'm just checking a box. I was like, well, considered your box checked, because I don't need to blow hot air at you. And that's when they'd be like, okay, well, I guess I'll listen. Or sometimes they would leave, that's really the way that I was. But the majority of people I saw on base were dependents or retirees, majority of. And a lot of times they were diabetics, or I would say 90% of the people I saw either wanted just in general to lose weight or had diabetes. And that was me. Those were the two I circled on. And then as I got pregnant with my daughter, around then they really had me do the pregnancy one, because they loved having a pregnant woman do it, because they felt related to. Or then right after I had her and I was still working there, they loved that as well. That's what I focused on. A lot of times my bosses would prefer to do things like heart health and other things like that, because they didn't have a lot of time in comparison to what I did. And a lot of times weight loss and diabetes, you really needed more one-to-one time with people. So
Sure. Leslie, I'd love to know your thoughts on, if we take out some of your special sauce, right, bringing in human design and some of these other tools, but just really focus on, maybe the food portion or the nutrition piece. How has your approach or your philosophy changed, now compared to like when you were working, let's call it, maybe when you first started out as a registered dietitian in sort of, I'm going to use air quotes, in an institutional setting? Like, how has your own philosophy around nutrition changed?
Oh, I wouldn't even say I have one thing left from them, other than I do teach my basic nutrition course, because you cannot tell somebody eat nutrient dense foods there's not a correlation if you don't have some sort of nutritional background. You're going to take to Google, and then it's going to be whoever tells you, right? So when I first started my business, I actually made like a nutrition 101 course. I still have it, and I put it in a lot of my programs. It is a course in and of itself that really teaches, from the standpoint of like, when I'm looking at a grain, what am I really looking at? How do I know if it's a whole grain, right? Because people are just like, oh, it's brown, or, oh, it says, 100% wheat. I'm like, none of that constitutes whole, right? But we don't know that. We're not privileged that information. And I really like to enable people to become their own nutrition advocate and choose from themselves, right? Okay, I get this is 100% wheat, but I still choose not to eat wheat. That's great. You've chosen that. You haven't followed some sort of meal plan that told you this is on the bad list, right? And in an institutional setting, that was exactly what it was. People wanted, just tell me what to eat and how to eat it. I can't tell you how many people came to me and was like, please just give me a meal plan. I was like, I can't even do that. Like we're not even allowed to do that in there. But also from the standpoint of, you and I both know, you could tell somebody on Tuesday at 9 p.m. at night, you're supposed to eat 3 ounces of salmon and green beans. And when they don't feel like eating 3 ounces of salmon and green beans, they're not going to eat it. Right? So it's like that, it's just a waste of my time. The thing is that you just want to have this special pill or magic, There were a couple of times you get to the loophole of medications on base, but entirely different. I couldn't talk about any of this. This was really why I started my business, because the person who really needed the most help was the woman who was staying at home, and the man was deployed, all of a sudden comes back. He wants to eat tons of, dining out food because he's been caged on a boat for however long. And then they also have 2 kids. One is really picky eater. The other one's allergic to something. And she's over here struggling. She's like, I'm trying to cook 4 meals because he wants to eat, all the fun foods that he didn't get while he was in the middle of the ocean. I'm trying to lose weight to be healthy. I can't cook this. So she's stressed and just gaining and gaining and gaining and gaining, but I can't address any of those things. In addition, I can't tell you how many times people came to me and they needed mental health before they ever got to me. There was nothing I was going to be able to do. And I can't cross the line based on what I'm doing there. Now, being more of what I call like a life health coach with, all my settings and stuff like that, I'm able to tap into those things. And when it's outside of me and I know like, hey, this if you go see this one person, I promise you, she can help you work through that. So all of this will click and work for you, because we all have that. And, for that woman that talked to me about, her dad and her weight and stuff like that, she definitely needed a little bit more emotional help before I was ever going to be able to just step in with even a digestion code, because that person every single day for 18 years of your life is a much more of a conditioned pattern than even learning that you have an internal code you were born with. So
yeah, I appreciate that. And as as we've talked previously, the tactics, again, person dependent, of course, right? But the tactical of how to just, let's pick a thing, lose weight or get healthier, whatever, is so much more effective once you've done the emotional and the inner game work first. And I can't remember if I shared this with you, Leslie, offline, but like I literally changed my whole business around once I kind of started incorporating the inner game tools in my own practice. So
agreed.
As we sort of come to a close here, and then I have just a few questions left, I'd like to ask you this now. You're into health, I'm into health. This is not a health podcast per se, but I always like to ask my guests, regardless of what their background is, what does your morning routine look like, or what's a non-negotiable health thing for you?
That's so funny. My morning routine would probably take me 3 minutes to 5 minutes to go through, because morning is my jam, because I have 2 small kids, 4 and 6, as you might have heard them in the background, but 4 and 6. I've never understood how moms can wake up with 2 kids in their face and be sane. I need that sanity time to fill up my cup first, so to speak, I guess. But things that are really non-negotiable, since it's from a health perspective, is starting my day out with reading, with really thinking about my dreams, my hopes, what I want to plan for the day. I do quite a lot in there. And I'd say the non-negotiable for me is I always do some sort of exercise. Sometimes it might be yoga, sometimes it might be Pilates, sometimes it might be, HIIT training or weight training. And I definitely always incorporate meditation towards the end, almost like meditation and yoga. I find them really flow together. But those are things that I won't skip even while on vacation. It does not go to the wayside. I'm always the first person up, and I always have those things done. Unless for some odd reason I have the flu or something crazy that I know that I need to sleep instead. So
Yeah, we're similar that way. It's like the way I look at it, it's like it's part of your lifestyle. So like whether you're on vacation or not is irrelevant. You just do those things. I'm the same. I just get up at regular time and I go to the gym at the resort or the hotel or whatever and get that all done before everyone else is up. And then it's like because that's what I do at home. So it's the same. So I love that.
yeah.
Um, you had you have a couple of gifts for our audience. I'd
Yeah.
love for you to, in your own words, describe it, what those gifts are. And then, I'll just,
Yeah.
before you said that, I'll just let everyone know, all of Leslie's links. You want to connect with her on her social media, et cetera, and the links for these gifts and her website, so everything will be in the show notes. So it'll all be there. Just look down below. But yeah, go ahead, Leslie. What are your gifts for the audience?
Yeah, and I'll actually give you an updated link. I actually put it into a free course on my Kajabi, basically, and you can go whichever route, whether you're a reader or you prefer to watch something. I have a quiz for you to take to find out your ancestry type. Lots of loaded little things there because I know each person is slightly different, and I really want it to be catered to what they need. So.
Awesome. We'll definitely check that out. That ancestry one. I mean, I've done a lot of testing and that sort of thing, but I'm also a big believer in inherited trauma and things like that. So I'm going to be doing that, at least that quiz for sure myself. So everyone definitely go check out those free resources from Leslie. Leslie, what is there any last words of wisdom or golden nugget, if you will, that you'd like to leave the audience with today?
I always, end with my tagline, which is you really can have the life, the health, and the body without the shame, guilt, or sacrifice. I really think that's something that we think we get one or the other, but you really can have it all when you open yourself to it.
I love that. And it's the same, and that's not my tagline, but same philosophy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I love that. So thank you, Leslie. I appreciate you being on the Deepak Saini show. And I'm just going to throw it to J23. He's going to guide us out with some music. Don't forget to check out not only the resources that Leslie is sharing with all of you in the show notes, but also don't forget to check out today's sponsor, and their link is there as well. And also, I have some free resources, some new resources that I've put into the show notes as well, things that I haven't included before. So if you're a longtime listener to the show, check out these new resources as well. So again, Leslie, thank you for being on the show, and everyone, thanks for listening to the Deepak Saini Show. Remember, and here's my tagline: exceptional results for the exceptional you. Till next time. This episode is brought to you by Optimizers. Magnesium Breakthrough. This is a product I've been using and our family's been using for, 4 years already. What I love about it, it has 7 different forms of magnesium in it, all the forms that your body needs for all 400 processes that your body needs magnesium for. Most magnesium supplements have one form and usually a crummy form of magnesium. This has all 7 forms that your body needs. So click the link and get at least 10% off. Sometimes there's specials and you even get more. So check out Optimizers Magnesium Breakthrough.
Podcast produced by the Minted Green Company